investors, but nothing to help the community or nothing positive. I'm just going to leave it at that. So the FDA, the CDC, DARPA, BARDA, Congress, they all turn their heads and let this company pretty much do what they will. I may have mentioned this already, and I'll mention it again. I cannot find anything, any interview, nothing that confirms that Bansal ever got his own vaccine. Not one single thing. And I have dug and dug. And even after I started recording the podcast and was done researching with Moderna for the podcast, I would still jump out there and look because there's still a lot of press. And I have not found anything. So if anyone has found something, if you could message me or send it to me, I'd be interested to read it. So I'm not going to pretend like I understand everything. I've read about the lipid nanoparticle distribution. I've cross-referenced words and phrases. I've checked with a few people I know in healthcare who I might add was unaware of any of this information on Moderna and the LMPs. And basically, it really looks like they aren't being truthful when they say they've developed SM-102. The opinion that was shared with me was that this isn't their own LMP they've developed, but rather they took Arbutus's lipid nanoparticle delivery system and they tweaked it so that it made look like their own, like maybe changing some of the, how it was explained to me, some of the inactive ingredients may have been switched to something in the same category, and maybe some of the ratios of certain things tweaked, changed around a little bit, but it's basically the same. And if Arbutus wanted to really push the issue, because it's not what they're saying is their own, is not much different than Arbutus's. So if they really wanted to push the issue, they could probably prove that their patent is still being infringed upon and file another case against Moderna. So that the question would be, why haven't they? The Stat article that I read leans toward public relations and how it could look to file a patent infringement in the middle of the COVID crisis. Arbutus could be made to look like they're more concerned about their bottom line than the public needing a medication. While I was typing all of this out, I did happen to come across an article from July 2020 saying that Moderna did receive an unfavorable ruling in this whole Arbutus patent case. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office denied Moderna's claim that Arbutus's patent was invalid. Arbutus could have then filed an injunction against Moderna, but the general thought is that the company decided against it for now due to the public health crisis. But they do reserve the right to do so in the future, and I'd be extremely interested to see if they do and see how that turns out. And again, despite all of these issues, our government in August entered into a significant supply contract with Moderna. Per that agreement, the government would pay $1.525 billion for 100 million doses in the future, all of which it has since purchased. By that point, per Moderna's press release, the U.S. government had paid $2.48 billion for early access to Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine. About a month later, it was revealed that the United States government had been paying so much more. On September 10th, 2020, BARDA, B-A-R-D-A, joined longtime Moderna funder and strategic ally DARPA on scrutinizing contracts that had been awarded to the company due to Moderna's failure to disclose the role government support had played in its numerous patent applications. The announcement only came out because a group called Knowledge Ecology International, which advocates for protecting the taxpayer investments in patents, found that none of the patents or applications assigned to Moderna in the company's entire history had disclosed the considerable U.S. government funding it had received at the time those patents were filed. which is required by the 1980 BAYH-Doyle Act and by the regulations of the Patent and Trademark Office. Per Knowledge Ecology International, this means that the U.S. government owning certain rights over the patents and the U.S. taxpayers may have an ownership stake in the vaccines made and sold by Moderna. Well, isn't that a kick in Moderna's heads? Because they are all about making money for their investors. The evidence is clear that Moderna failed to disclose the considerable amount of U.S. government funding prior to and during the COVID crisis in its patent applications. So get ready. Here is their response to KEI and BARDA/DARPA scrutiny. They were, quote, aware of and consults with our agency and collaborators regarding our contractual obligations under each of these agreements, including those with respect to IP, that's intellectual property, and believe we comply with those obligations, end quote. And, of course, I could find no action by BARDA or DARPA against Moderna for illegally omitting that they had received substantial government funding in their patent applications and filings. In fact, and I'm sure you can tell I'm about to reveal some more government shenanigans. A month after DARPA claimed to be scrutinizing Moderna's patent applications, it awarded, yes, you heard that correct, it awarded the company up to $56 million more to develop small-scale mobile means of manufacturing its products, namely, and you've probably guessed, its COVID-19 vaccine and its personalized cancer vaccine. Oh, God, it just seems like no matter what dirt, underhanded practices, court filings against them, Moderna does no wrong in the eyes of the government. Like my grandma used to say about a certain someone she knew, they could fall in poo and come up smelling like a rose. And I think this is a perfect example of that. But anyway, media and regular... So, yeah. I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought there for a second. Yes, I'm getting old. I turned 60 this year. But Moderna, the media and regular citizens, regular citizens like us that follow mainstream media, they believe what they're being told. They don't. I've talked to so many people that have bought what the media was dishing out, and I've asked them why. And even though they know that the media is lying, but because of the whole situation with COVID, it's just very hard for them to fathom that the media and our government, at a time when people are getting sick and dying, would uphold greed and their own interests above millions and millions of Americans who, A, hired the politicians, and B, pay taxes and trust what they're being told is the truth. So they expect that if there's something about Moderna not truthful or underhanded, that the media would report it. And that's not happening. In fact, people are still lining up to get, maybe not so much now, but at the beginning of the year, people were lining up for their second injection and their boosters. And now they're talking about another booster, or maybe having to get a shot once a year. And are they putting their health in danger? Who's to say? I believe so, but I know other people don't agree with that, and I'm okay with that. Upcoming episodes, I do, there's patent information. I do intend to talk about what's in Moderna's and Pfizer's and the rumored myocarditis that a lot of people are suffering. But But just for these episodes for Moderna right now, just the fact that they aren't following the golden standard that everyone prior to this was expected to follow should be enough to keep people from, or have them do their own research before they get a vaccine from Moderna. And the fact that the media, this information, it's public information. If I got a hold of it and I read it, every reporter out there is privy to the same information and more, because they have the ability to get more information, but yet none of this is talked about. It's crazy. Their CEO gets over with everything he does. Moderna gets caught, like with these filings, and they speak their excuse and they get to keep on going. How many have ever here listening have ever had the government take an excuse from you for not paying your taxes or claiming something incorrectly on your income tax, or even not paying on your student loan? I mean, we as citizens that the U.S. government is supposed to be working for and supposed to have our best interest in mind, did anything remotely close to what Moderna has been caught doing, we'd be under the federal prison somewhere. They haven't even been transparent about the vaccine, that millions of doses have already been distributed throughout our country and the world. So I know I'm rambling here. I apologize. It just really, when you think about the millions of people that trusted with the information that they're being given, and the fact that some of it was lies, the duplicitousness of things, it's really heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. But I'm going to climb down off my soapbox now. I'm done. But getting back to Moderna, I just don't, make no mistake. Moderna was facing a collapse as a company prior to the COVID-19 crisis. They saw an opportunity. The opportunity was helped along because of their relationship with the National Institute of Health, Fauci, DARPA, later the relationship with BARDA, Stephen Bansel's connections with people at the World Economic Forum, Bill Gates, the Gates Foundation. And so they are slowly digging their way out of the financial hole they were in. But let's be clear, they still need to sell many more doses of boosters to start to turn a profit. Right now, they're just staying afloat. They still owe millions to their investors. So they even got away with saying that the National Institute of Health was conducting safety tests on a COVID-19 vaccine different from their commercial contender without causing a backlash in the mainstream media or from the NIH. That's a red flag. As the May 2020 press release and suspiciously timed stock trading by Moderna executives and insiders did get negative press. However, the subsequent revelation per Moderna that its press release was based on the study of a vaccine candidate that was not necessarily the same as their commercial COVID-19 vaccine candidate received essentially no coverage at all from the media, despite raising the possibility that Moderna could have used another product to essentially rig preliminary data to be positive in order to advance their product to market and make millions through insider stock sales. How can the claims made by this company be trusted at face value without independent verification? Even worse than that is, how can the National Institute of Health studies of Moderna be trusted when Moderna has claimed that some of the studies that were ultimately factors in the vaccine's emergency use authorization approval by the FDA utilized a different product than what Moderna later successfully commercialized? Moderna and the NIH were taken at their word in November 2020 when they said their vaccine was 94.5%